Hello everybody, this is Tim W. Leathertachi 1996. When I said take it easy everybody, 9 weeks ago, it's been 9 whole weeks since I did the last episode of Godzilla FX here. Did you really think I was gonna let Godzilla go? Did you really think I gave up on the series just after 15 episodes? Bet you did. I bet you thought I gave up on the series, didn't you? Well, welcome to Season 2, and we are starting off with Godzilla 1984, or also known as The Return of Godzilla. Yep, we are at Season 2, Episode 1 of Godzilla FX, and we kicked the season off with my fifth favorite movie of the Godzilla franchise. And when I mean fifth favorite, I just got done watching this movie, going on probably 40 minutes ago. I just got done watching this, and I am telling you right now, this Godzilla movie, this returns to Godzilla's original route. Like, no more do we see the superhero monster boxer that we all come to know. I mean, this new version is like, oh my god, it's scary in some shots, and everything about this movie is so serious. It's got a very dark and serious tone to it. Now, look, and yes, that is Godzilla's actual design of this movie. And and the version that I watched is the one you can find on Amazon for literally about $10. And it's the Japanese version, English dubbed. Like, I didn't watch the American version, and quite frankly, I don't want to, because I love the fact that Steve Martin, Raymond Burr played in it, but the rest of the scenes, from what I saw, is like, no, the Japanese version is way better. But this may be a solo Godzilla movie, but we are introduced to a new monster, surprisingly. Meet Shockers, the giant sea louse. And the way they what do you call this monster, their thing's origin that they explain in this movie is that sea louse are only a few centimeters long, and because of the radiation coming off his body, there's this sea louse that mutated, and I guess we're feeding off of Godzilla. But this thing is so creepy. Like, it looks really realistic, and I gotta tell you, the big pro for special effects are at the beginning of the movie, that the boat that Godzilla attacks, there's dead bodies all over the place, and they look like zombies. They look a lot like zombies, but there's like dead bodies and rubble all over the place. And then you got Shockers here that flies around, jumps on the ceilings. Oh my god. It's just, the movie starts off with really good special effects work. And the special effects were done in this movie by Teruyoshi Nakano, sorry. I gotta hand it to the guy. He did a really good job on this movie. And looking at Shockers, it looks so creepy. Like, seriously, you look at that and you're like, oh my god, that thing's from Earth. It just looks so creepy. And I looked up what a sea louse really looks like, and it's like, it don't look anything close to this. But this thing is a mutant, so there's nothing really you can say. You can't really say anything about it. It's a mutation. And here we go. There's Godzilla, like, in the background. And this scene is so crazy. Like, this is about 44 minutes into the movie, and the way Godzilla shows up, it's like, for the first 40 minutes of this movie, you don't see him. Like, you see, like, this silhouette of him, and that's it, and a silhouette satellite photo, but you don't, like, see him. And they do this thing where it's like, what's scary is what is not seen. And I tell you right now, this movie does a really good job of doing that. And then, right when he shows up in the movie, it's this nice big reveal, and you hear his breathing. Like, at the very beginning of the movie, you hear his roar, but you don't see him. And in this scene here, when this nuclear power plant gets destroyed, you hear his breathing, but you still don't see him until the camera pans up and they do this big slow reveal of him. It's a great scene, and him destroying and his breathing in the fog sounds like something out of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, actually. And it's just like, I just really love this movie. I really did. I do love this movie, but there's only 3 effects cons that I've found about this movie. I mean, surprisingly, you would think that when it comes to my favorites, you'd never think like that I find any effects cons, but that's what I do when I watch these movies. I find some little things here and there. You all remember from last season, I pointed out like some cons that I found in these movies as I was watching them. But anyways, back to this. And this scene with Godzilla destroying this power plant, it is super amazing. And then here is this shot of Godzilla eating. Like, literally, here's a shot of him actually eating for once. Like, we never get to see that. We've never seen that before. So this movie does some new stuff. It does a lot of new things we've never seen Godzilla do. This being the first one here. When he goes to the nuclear power plant, he grabs the reactor core and he starts eating the nuclear fuel out of it, and he just sucks out the nuclear steam out of it. And what's so cool is his back plates start glowing as he's doing this, so it's like he's recharging himself. And actually no, I'll get to that a little bit. But it's a very interesting scene, and then they do this thing, they do the connection between dinosaurs and birds in this movie, because they explain like how birds have the homing instinct or something like that, and Godzilla apparently has the same thing. So they try to make him scientifically accurate or whatever. But it's just very interesting. And I do love the suit. I love the Godzilla suit. It looks doesn't look any reminiscent of any other incarnation. Like, it's a totally new design for him, which is really cool. And the detailing, the scales on the suit look very reminiscent of the first movie, with a little mix of you can't really compare this design to any other suit texture wise. Well, texture wise, it looks very like Showa-ish, but you can't really compare this to any other Godzilla suit. It's a totally original and new design for him. And one note that I gotta say about this movie, man, before I even say that note, there's a nice detail of his mouth. This is when he shows up in Tokyo Bay, and you got the military shooting at him, or the jets anyway. And they do this really cool close-up of his mouth. And I love his teeth in this shot. He's got this Tyrannosaurus-looking teeth with fangs. I love the long fangs that are on the top and bottom of his mouth. It looks really cool. And the inside of his mouth looks really detailed. They did a really good job on this movie. But this comes to my very first effects con with this movie. This Godzilla movie, it's a mix of the guy in the suit, played by this man named Ken Satsuma, and he played Godzilla good. He made him threatening. He really did. And you can tell that the budget for this movie was bigger, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. I will give it a hand to Ken Satsuma, who played Godzilla in this movie. He's basically the new Haru Nakajima. And you'll see why here in in later reviews in this season. No spoilers though. So anyways, there's this thing. This movie's a mix of the guy in the suit and mixed with this 10-foot tall animatronic that I read that it was called a Cybot. The Cybot. I don't know if that's the actual name for it. I just read somewhere I just read that name someplace when I looked this movie up. And there's some points where the animatronic, it moves too much like an animatronic, Yeah, this is the guy in this. This is Satsuma in the suit in this great miniature planes coming down. It's like it's this movie feels very like it feels like a nostalgia movie. Like you have scenes that were done in the very first movie from 1954, and they do it again in this movie, and it looks so awesome. But yeah, the Cybot, it's a hit or miss. Like there's some shots where it looks good, and then other shots, it like his mouth and his hands, they move too puppetish. It just looks really weird. It looks really awkward. And yeah, that's my first. That was my first con when I was watching this movie. And sometimes you can't tell what was the animatronic and what was the guy in the suit, but then the awkward scenes with the animatronic, you can tell which is which. But anyway, but that's my first effects con, and I found, like I said, I found 3 of them. If I didn't say that already, I can't remember now. Anyways, like I said, I really do love like this large pool tank, and the atmosphere of the movie is like all the darkness they have around Godzilla. Like they really tried to make him so threatening in this movie and really scary. They tried to take him back to the year 1954-ish and tried to make him look really scary and everything. But the thing I don't understand about this movie, this is not an effects anything, but there's one little story thing I'm really confused about, is they said on the back of the DVD cover said this is a sequel to 1954, and yet not one dialogue, not one thing of dialogue in this movie says, oh, the first Godzilla attacked 30 years ago, and now this was the animatronic, I believe. And they never say like, oh, Godzilla attacked 30 years ago, now he's back 30 years later. There's not a single line in this entire movie that says that. And I mean, and then they have newspaper articles that say like Godzilla still exists, and with people's reaction to it when his name is announced. I mean, I don't know how this is a sequel to 1954. I really can't see it. I mean, yeah, they show photos from 1954, and there's one human character that says that this scientist's parents were killed by Godzilla back 30 years ago, but that's about it. There's nothing in this movie that says that, oh, this is the second Godzilla from 1954. They don't say that in this movie, so I can't see how this is a sequel to 1954, ignoring Raids Again to Terror of Mechagodzilla, when ignoring the entire rest of the Showa era. So yeah, that's just my really big confusion with this movie, but but other than that, the scene with the military shooting at him was so amazing, and there's this really cool shot, this really cool bit where they zoom in on his eye, on the eye that's actually showing in this shot here. There's this really cool shot where they zoom in on that eye, and he is just pissed off. He's super pissed, and then is when he, I'll wait until that screenshot comes up. Yeah, this movie, like, there's special effects of him with the military shooting at Godzilla. Oh, here we go. This is after the pissed off eye shot, and for the first time in Godzilla history, Godzilla uses CG? Yes, you heard me, CG in a Godzilla movie. It was his atomic breath. His atomic breath was completely CGI. And I gotta tell you, they did a good job. Like, just look at this shot. Like, Godzilla just annihilates the whole military battalion shooting at him. And you see this one dude, he's running around on fire, and then there's these other guys that get burned alive, and the tanks and the missile launchers just explode. And the thing is that they don't do it fast, they do it slow, like a real explosion would be, which really adds to it. And then after Godzilla annihilates everybody, they do another shot, the same angle, but it's everything destroyed. and Godzilla just stands over it like he is the like he's he's the horror of destruction. Like, it's just seeing the shot of him standing above standing above what he just did is very, like, I guess kind of adds that ominous dark tone to it. Like, he is the massacre of humanity. Like, this movie's just very dark. It's a very dark and very sad movie, actually. It is a very sad film for a Godzilla movie. I mean, the tone just totally shifted from from the movie 9 years prior to this, and it's just like, wow. And then when Godzilla, comes to Tokyo, he of course has intentions of remodeling the place. I mean, seriously, but this is just the military scene when it. Oh my god! And here's right after I was talking about the shot where filmed from the same angle as the atomic breath shot 2 minutes ago, and this is when he looks around and he roars. Now his roar, the beginning of it has that screech, and then it goes into this deep growl, like this really deep, not lion kind of growl, but this deep dinosaur-like growl that I was like, oh wow, everything about him is new in this movie. And I gotta tell you, I love the detail. I really love the detail because it looks like what they said for the 1954 film. He looks very he looks disfigured. He really does. His face does not have regular scales on it. It has this very rough skin detail, and it just looks like he's kind of disfigured a little bit. And once again a great shot of his teeth. And his teeth, actually, if you notice, in 1954 his teeth looked just like this. So it was like they really tried to make a lot of effects and the look of Godzilla about this movie they try to bring 1954 back, and they try to do it in this movie. And there's actually a lot of points in this movie where Godzilla's roar is the 1954 sound. It's two of the 1954 sounds. It's not the main one, but it's two of them. And when you hear it, it's like, oh, I remember that sound. So yeah, Godzilla 1984, or also known as The Return of Godzilla, which, personally, I love that title. I do love that title better, in all honesty, because this is a big return for him. Oh, and look at this. Now the miniature sets in this movie the city is way bigger than anything previously shown in the Showa series. And if you notice the heights of the buildings this time, originally the heights of the buildings were, okay, all the buildings to the right of him, when you're looking at him straight on here, to the right of him, the buildings from the black and gray building and down, that was the usual size of the buildings. But now, look at the building as you keep going up. There's a building actually taller than he is. And then look at the building to the left of him, taller than he is. So you can just tell that the budget for this movie was super high. Super high. And he has a more modernized look to him. It's like, I can't believe, it's just so crazy. Godzilla hit the 80s. He's in the 1980s. It's like, I say it once, I say it again. I'm giving my score for this movie. My score, once again, this is a solid 10 out of 10 score for me. Because it has a very dark tone. The special effects in this movie are great. And what's so crazy is that sometimes when you listen to the buildings crumble, they have a very Showa-y sound effect. Like, some of the sound effects in this movie are still some of the old ones from the Showa era, blended with some new stuff. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, oh, okay. But this miniature set here, it looks so much more real than the Showa era. The Showa era cities, they did look realistic, but here you got this more modern look and movie technology. Godzilla 1984 proves that movie technology gets better over the years. And this building here is so crazy. Like, you know the lyric in Everyone Knows This Godzilla, he picks up a bus and he throws it back down. Godzilla actually does that in this movie. I think this is where Blue Oyster Cult did the song too. I know I keep going off topic about the effects, but I always love to mention other bits and pieces here and there at this point. So yeah, there's actually a point in here where Godzilla picks up this train car, this section of this train, and he looks at the people inside of it, and everyone starts screaming when they look at him. And then he literally throws it down. He carries it, and there's this really cool reflection shot on the side of the building off to his left. And he don't throw it. He gently looks like he's setting it down, but it gets destroyed anyways. So yeah, I think that's where I think this is the Godzilla movie where Blue Oyster Cult did the song off of. I think. I'm not entirely sure. I believe so. But if you look at Godzilla, he just looks so, I don't know, it's just, like I said, I give this movie a 10 out of 10, and if I'm giving my recommendation this early in the video, I would recommend this to any Godzilla fan. Any diehard Godzilla fan like myself so needs to watch this movie. It's a sad movie, and well, actually, it's a very well. Actually, before I keep going on with that, here's my second special effects con with this film, and it deals with the human characters. There's this shot where this helicopter. Okay, here we have a green screen. Here we have a green screen shot, and then you got this really cool shot of Godzilla roaring. Looks so awesome. Now, anyways, my second effects con with this movie was the building that all the three main human characters are in. There's this one shot where you have this helicopter coming to rescue them, and there's a shot where the human characters in the window. It's this far away shot, but it looks like there's just this little TV screen in the building playing footage of the actors. It just looks so weird. It looks really weird. It looks like a little TV screen inside the miniature building playing footage of the actors, like I said. Sorry I said that twice. It just looked, they could have done that a little better. They could have done so much better with that, in all honesty. I don't know, I really was not a fan of that shot. And they do it, I think, twice. And I believe they did it like twice. But anyways, what was it? Oh, and one thing I got once again, I gotta say this again. I gotta hand it to the suit actor, Ken Satsuma, who played Godzilla in this movie. He really played him in a very evil way. And this adds to the special effects because of the way Godzilla, when he moves and when he moves and destroys everything in his path, it's just so very. I don't know, just everything about this movie is just amazing. For 1984, this movie is just, this is cool. I really love this. And I know I have not talked about the music yet on this series, but the music, it's so like all classical orchestra, very sad music. It really is. Oh, and then here we got this shot of Godzilla here, it just feels kind of random. There's some points when the humans are talking, they throw in like shots of Godzilla here and there, just to like, I don't know, make the movie longer, I guess. I don't know. And I really do love this shot because it's all dark, because the picture's in darkness, and like the original, Godzilla's attack on Tokyo takes place at night. Like in his very first movie, which is cool. But I really do like this shot. It's a quick little 2-second, but looking at the screenshot, you could see all the detailing on him, and everything. It just looks so cool. I keep on saying how cool this movie is, but it is. I really, really do love this Godzilla movie. Um, Now, the last effects con that I had with this movie is when it gets towards when it gets almost done with Godzilla destroying Tokyo. When his attack is almost finished, there's this scene where, well, there's like a lot of shots where they have this animatronic foot, this giant Godzilla foot come down, and it was so not needed. It was really not needed in this movie because when you see the foot come down, it looks too much like a promotional um oh my god, gimmick or something like that. It looks too promotional and not like in the movie kind of thing. It just does not look like it was needed. Oh, here we go. Now, this is a definite main highlight of this movie right here is you have these tanks with satellite dishes on them and they shoot lasers at him. And they miss most of the time, and surprisingly, they don't even scratch him, which is really weird. Um, I don't know. It's like, despite the fact that the laser tanks they miss like 90% of the time, I really do love that. It's something new and fresh. I mean, we have seen laser stuff in the Showa era. We've seen that, but this makes it look, I guess, better. This is so much more newer and fresher. I just really love like the laser tanks. It looks very like, oh, science fiction in the 1980s. Okay. And this happens for a little bit, and it comes as a total surprise. It's actually a total shocker when this happens. You're like, oh, lasers. Okay. It just happens as a kind of odd little like shocker that happens in this movie. And once again, you look at the miniature set; it is huge. Like seriously, I bet you this is where most of the budget went to. And God only knows how big the budget for this movie was to make a miniature set that detailed, have a Godzilla suit that detailed. Like seriously, this movie is just, I keep on saying how awesome it is because it was. Because it really was. And what I so love about Godzilla's design is that they make him make him have this dinosaurian look that he had, very reminiscent of the original, which I really like. And here we go, another shot with the lasers. And I don't know, it's like he keeps moving and he keeps dodging them or something like that. But it's just I mean, the laser tanks are very random, but the effect for them is amazing. I mean, you could tell it was, I mean, yeah, it was CGI. It was 1980s CG, but still, it looks really good. For first time using CGI in the Godzilla franchise, it's really good. It's really good CG, especially the tank lasers. And is it me, or does this not look like the World Trade Center scene from the 1976 remake of King Kong? Like, just the way the buildings are shot here, looking up at Godzilla. It's just like, I don't know, this shot just looks so iconic to me for some odd reason. It's a really well done shot. And the two buildings in the background, they really remind me of the World Trade Center scene from the 1976 remake of King Kong, like how the World Trade Center was shot in that movie. Oh, with the with the super low angle. That's what it just feels like to me. That's what this reminds me of. And I would not be surprised if TOHO was actually inspired by that. So yeah. Excuse me. Nothing much really I can say about this shot. So how's everyone doing tonight? Y'all having a good night? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just being funny. It's just so weird, and I don't know, this lasers. I'm a fire in my laser. And missing. Oh, okay. I think this was the Cybot actually. I sadly cannot get a screenshot of this new weapon that the humans have made, but it's called the Super X, and the Super X is a large flying machine that Japan built as a defense against any threat to the country. And it was loaded with cadmium. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. Somebody fact checked this movie, because apparently the way they actually said in this movie that cadmium can cap a radioactive leak. So they used that on Godzilla, and as you can tell, that is either foam or blood, or green blood coming out of his mouth, because the way they do it is Super X comes in and uses flares to get Godzilla pissed off, and they shoot cadmium shells into his mouth. And this happens for a little bit, and Godzilla gets all messed up, and then he collapses onto a building, and he's knocked out for a little bit. Like, yeah, they actually managed to bring him down for literally about 5 minutes. Then also they have this weird thing. Apparently, this was made during the Cold War, and they have this thing where America and Russia want to shoot a nuclear warhead at Godzilla to kill him. And there's this Russian ship in Tokyo Bay that launches a nuclear warhead at Japan by accident, and then then the U.S. fires a missile at that nuke to blow it up, which basically saves Japan. And the effect of it blowing up in outer space, it kind of looks very like early Star Wars-ish. Oh, here we go. This is where Godzilla, like, he's so stubborn. Godzilla has this stubborn. See, there's Super X. There we go. There's a screenshot. Yeah, it's Super X right there on Godzilla's right. And look at the buildings in this. The buildings are super taller than he is. Like, look at that. Oh my god, look at the size of the buildings in this shot. Again, high ass budget. Seriously, oh my god. Just seeing this is like, wow. Oh man. But anyways, like I was saying, Godzilla has a stubborn moment where it's like he tries so hard to stand up while cadmium was fired directly in his mouth, and every shell gets fired in his mouth, so he gets all messed up. And this is right before he collapses onto the building. And what's so cool is that while he's laying on the building, knocked out, he's more like leaning. He's not on the ground. He's just like halfway up a building here. Or 1/3 of the building, I guess, from his height. And he's knocked out. And then when the nuclear warhead goes off in outer space, they have this in orbit. They have this red light just spreads all across Tokyo here, and after it dissipates, it's a really cool effect because it gives the movie this, and the sky's red, like Godzilla's this demon of this terror of destruction, and the sky's red, with the horror back, from the depths of the ocean kind of thing. So it's just like the symbolism really. Excuse me. The symbolism really adds to the effect, and I just so can't believe the buildings are taller than he is. Like, that's something we've never seen before. And here we go with more of the CG used in this movie. And we got Godzilla's atomic breath. And he gets in this really cool confrontation. Like, well, actually, before I even finish that, when the way Godzilla wakes up is lightning. I guess the nuclear bomb detonation creates this like little electrical storm for a few minutes, and the lightning bolts go into Godzilla's back and his back plates and his dorsal fins, and they wake him up. And he gets back up, and he gets back on his feet, and he gets in this really cool confrontation with Super X. I mean, Super X not only does it have cadmium shells, but it has regular missiles and lasers, again, lasers, and Godzilla shoots back at it, and the Super X shoots at him, And it's just this nice little fight between monster and machine and flying machine. And at the same time, every time Godzilla shoots at something, everything just blows up. Oh my god, there's so many like explosions. There's explosions in this movie. Oh yeah, did I mention there was explosions? I know I said that 9 weeks ago in the last review, but there is a lot of explosions in this movie. And when after this whole bit here, when Godzilla finishes destroying Tokyo, there's one great thing of special effects that I really, really got to give this movie credit for is it has this apocalyptic feel to it. Like the way the atmosphere and the way the film looks on screen when Godzilla leaves Tokyo after being called out of Tokyo by some machine that's shooting waves or some electromagnetic waves or a bird call or some buzzing sound or whatever. They don't really get into too much detail about it. It just Tokyo ends up having this very apocalyptic feel to it, like you just like watching your city get destroyed and the horror that did it is standing above you and you're just standing there in all this rubble and fire and you look up at the horror that did this to your home and it looks very sad. It just looks so sad. Now what's so funny is this was CGI also. Again, every atomic breath shot in this movie was CGI. But it's just so funny how in the screenshot before this it was bright blue, it was all nice and bright. Now here it's transparent and light blue. It's like, oh, okay. That just like, it's not an effects con, but it just looks kind of like, okay. It like, okay. And this is a cool shot. Like, this is wallpaper worthy. Now, the CGI in this movie, like I said with the laser tanks, the CGI is really good. Like, for the first time using CG in a Godzilla movie, this has really good CG, actually. Once again, great detailing on the Godzilla suit. He looks very atomic bomb, nuclear bomb disfigured, like he was in the original. So yeah, and I will talk about the ending like later on here in this movie because the ending almost made me cry. Now, usually I have never cried to a Godzilla movie before, never. But the ending to this movie is actually a tearjerker. It really is. For a Godzilla movie, this is actually a tearjerker. Like seriously, this really is. But I'm not talking about the ending until that screenshot comes up. Oh, and here we go. And what's so crazy is Super X right here. Super X gets destroyed. Like Godzilla knocks this building on top of Super X and basically kills the crew. Just kills the whole crew in it smashing them. And there's this really like, see, this is the apocalyptic feel right here. Like the bottoms of the buildings behind him, or at least half of them, are destroyed, and then you got this building laying in front of him, and Godzilla, he looks at the camera and he does the longest roar I've ever heard so far. So, and he just looks so, I don't know, he just looks so, he actually does look kind of scary. He looks very like demonic with the fire glowing next to him. Like I said, what's the guys that did the special effects? Nakano. I will hand it to him. He did a really great job with the special effects in this movie. He did such a great job. I mean, Eiji Tsuburaya was like the Yoda of Godzilla special effects, but Nakano, for a first, I don't know, this was definitely not the man's first time doing special effects for Japanese films, but for the second franchise of Godzilla, he actually did a very good job, truly. That's why this movie gets a 10 out of 10, because the effects cons are so like, okay, the foot, yeah, the giant animatronic foot was so not needed. It was so not needed. They could have just done shots of Godzilla's feet. with the suit and just green screened it, it would have looked better. In all honesty, than this slow motion foot coming down. It looks too much like a promotional thing. Oh my god, here we go. Here's the ending to this movie. Now, the thing with this movie is like, it's like Godzilla comes back and they kill him right at the end of the movie. They don't turn him into bones again. They lure him to this volcano and they detonate explosives to make the volcano erupt. And he falls into the volcano. He falls in, and what's so crazy is the actor, like the prime minister, and two of the other human main characters, especially the scientist, they look at Godzilla as he's falling in the volcano, and the prime minister actually starts crying. There's this camera zoom on his face, and he starts crying. And this movie, the ending to this movie is since like of how long Godzilla's been around, they try to do this thing with him in this movie where it's like, okay, yeah, Godzilla, he's big, he's scary, he's a menace, but at the end of the day, he's just an animal, and I guess it was trying to say, like, he's nature's way of reminding humanity how really insignificant we are, as the great Raymond Burr says it in the American version. He said Godzilla is just is nature's reminder of how small we are, and it's not in the Japanese version, even though I wish it was. In the American version, everybody who has watched the American version knows of the loud, ear-splitting scream he does when he jumps in the volcano. I mean, when he falls in, not jumps in, he falls in. When he falls in, he does this very loud scream. It's haunting. It's a very haunting, tear-jerking scream. And let me just get back to the poster here. Seen all the awesome screenshots. Yeah, Godzilla 1984, it was a very dark and depressing Godzilla movie. More serious than 1954. So yeah, like I said, I would recommend this to any diehard Godzilla fan, and also this movie's getting a 10 out of 10 because the special effects in this movie are amazing. This was a really good piece of effect. This movie, I just loved it. I really enjoyed this movie, and the ending was so sad. Oh my god, him being dragged into a volcano and falling into it with the scream with the American version scream. If only that was in the Japanese version, it was, oh my god, it's tearjerker, and it shows like Godzilla's not just a monster. It's an animal wanting to exist. That's the main point of this movie. Well, that was my opinion. That's all my opinions on Godzilla 1984. Please like and subscribe to not only this channel, but to Megas Dragon's channel for making the awesome new logo at the beginning of this video. And also, please subscribe to the Movie Reviews Library, because Megas Dragon is with me on that channel. Yeah, I hope you guys love the new logo. Yeah, like I said, Megas Dragon was the one that made that for me. So yeah, like and subscribe to Megas Dragon's channel, Movie Reviews Library, and please subscribe to this channel. And I will see you next week with the next Godzilla film in the second series. Have a good day, everybody.